Hi, and welcome to Test-Driven Web Application Development. In this section, we will have a look at advanced modeling. We will begin by having a look at reflexive relationships, in which we will see how we can have models that are related to themselves. Then we will have a look at polymorphic models, which is a powerful modeling concept. And lastly, we will look at transforms to handle custom data types. So let us begin by having a look at reflexive relationships. The most obvious kind of a reflexive relationship is a parent and child relationship, which can be seen as a has many and belongs to relationship with a single type of entity, that is a person. In our application, let us start by creating categories to group our products. And we will set up our categories such that each category can have a subcategory. So let us start by generating the model category. Once again, this would have an attribute of name of type string, an image which would be again a string, and it would have many products. So we could list that as a has many type of relationship. Apart from this, let us also generate a Mirage model for category, as well as a Mirage factory. In our category model, the generator has already set up a has many relationship with products, but let us have a look at that later, and instead let us define our own relationship of children. And as we will allow each category to have many subcategories, we will define it as a has many relationship with the same model, that would be category. And we also need to define the inverse relationship of parent, which would be of type belongs to. Like any other relationship with a non-matching relationship and model name, we need to define the inverse explicitly, which would be parent in the case of children, and in the case of parent, it would be children. We need to define something similar on our Mirage model, where we would define the children has many relationship and parent, which would be a belongs to. We also need to make sure that we import these two variables from Ember CLI Mirage, and beside that we need to define the relationship type, that would be category for both the relationships, as well as the inverse, which would be parent, and in the case of parent, the inverse would be children. Next thing we want to do is set up the category factory. Firstly, let us define the name attribute as well as the image attribute and import faker. Then we will define a trait called with children, in which we will make a call to the after create method, passing in the current category and the server instance as parameters. And then we can do something like category dot children is equal to server dot create list, and we can specify that we want to create 3 child categories for each category, and then let us call the save method to persist our changes. We also need to import trait, as it is required for this after create call. Next, let us open our Mirage server config and define a categories root and also a default scenario, and ask the server to create a list of 3 categories once again. However, here we will also pass in the with children trait so that we have 3 categories with subcategories created by default. Then let us generate a root handler for our application. Notice that this will ask if we want to overwrite our existing application.hbs template, for which we would respond with an N so as to not overwrite our current file. And then let us open the root handler.